Welcome to iHeartGeek. And welcome to another episode of iHeartGeek. We got a psychology episode today. I'm happy. I love these. These make me happy. We're going to be talking psychology of Jean Grey today. Who's that? You might know her better as the Phoenix. So we'll get back into that in a few minutes. Let me talk about our illustrious cast here. It's a little different in here today. It feels weird. It feels weird in here today. But we'll get into that in a minute. To my left, we have Miss Geeky Page herself. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing dandy.
Excellent.
Did you have a good week?
I did have a good week. I had to go to work, but other than that, it was good.
How's Hawaii?
I didn't want to come home.
She wants to go back.
I do. I'd live there if I could.
And next up, we have our good buddy that we haven't seen in a few weeks for some reason or the other, the Black Geek himself, Carl.
Boom, shakalaka. I'm back, baby.
Boom,
Black
shakalaka.
Geek is in the house. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing outstanding. So what's new in your life?
Absolutely nothing. A lot of comic book reading, a lot of gaming, a lot of me time.
I've noticed a lot of YouTube videos popping up from you.
There's some videos starting to
or
pop
Facebook
up.
videos, I think.
Rants.
A
lot of rants.
And we're going to see more of those on the iHeartGeek page too, so just stick around
Be
in
ready
there.
for it, people.
And across the table, we have my good buddy, Kosh. How you doing, bud?
Hey.
Wow, we have so much life in this show today. This is
Kaj, if you could hold on 1 second, I got to get my flask out. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm doing fantastic. How are you there, Deb?
I'm not doing too bad.
What?
What? Fantastic.
Oh, I thought you were just thirsty. I didn't.
He's waiting.
You want to be? Oh, you want to feel good?
Oh, there it goes.
You want to feel real good? Good.
Gross.
Are these ever going to make the news episodes when we start saying good and just see what happens?
Well,
Really? You want to see me
like
fall
I'm
all
good-
over the
I'm
ground?
going to just blurt it out to you. I mean, it just happens.
It's just there.
He has
Yeah.
to feel it in his bones.
Yeah. Good.
Damn it, feel good.
Good.
And to our right, we have Mr. Blythe. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be
I
talking
can drink
about little Jean Grey today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of Jean Grey. Honestly, I don't know why we originally picked this as a topic, but the more we've dug into it, there is a lot on Jean Grey, a lot more than I thought.
I'm going to tell you one of the reasons we picked her. Did you know that she was selected a couple of years back as the number 3 hottest comic book character?
Really?
She was.
Interesting.
She always feels like a mom to me.
Not to me.
That's because she's been around as long as
Hey now.
Nice. Okay, so today's show is brought to you by Scott Summers, who has single-handedly kept Oakley in business for the last 2 decades. Yeah, the Blades.
He
they're never
supports
going
me.
away. So we are going right in today. Instead of starting our discussion, all that, we're going to go right into the game show so that our history of Jean Grey doesn't plop into the game show. So here we go. Here's a generic game show for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you a nice, easy game show this time
You
around.
liar.
We're going to go with just 11 questions.
Liar.
Nice.
So, question number 1. What was Jean Grey's original power when she first debuted in the X-Men?
I believe she was a telepath.
Unfortunately, that is not correct, sir.
Telepathic and telekinetic power.
I'm going to give it to you. She only had one to begin with.
Oh, not according to what I read this afternoon.
I'll go back and show you.
Okay.
Telekinetic.
Okay.
So did she get the full points for that?
She gets the full points for that.
That's the only points I'm going to get the whole time.
I just got Mind Reader. She
Kinda
reads
counts.
minds.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Okay.
I just put flight. I thought that it was really simple at the beginning. So.
Nope. And to actually answer why she only had the one, when the creators created them originally, they created them where each mutant would have just one power, not to overlap with another one. Jean Grey, I believe, received her second power about 2 or 3 issues in.
Really? And
Interesting.
that was giant. No, it wasn't even giant size X-Men. That was just original X-Men, right?
Nope, back in the original.
1963.
Yep.
Question number 2. What 2 teams was Jean Grey an original founder for?
X-Men and Hellfire Club.
You get 1 point for that, sir.
X-Men and X-Force.
You get full points.
Yay!
I thought it was X Force, and I didn't. I put X-Men and X-Men Gold Team for when Chris Claremont. Yeah.
Oh, and I love that team.
Yeah.
But you get 1 point.
1 point.
And I put X-Men and X Factor. Which
Is that
No,
not
X
what
Factor. When they that was
feel
Canadian.
like-
Factor's X. It's
Yeah, she was not a. She was not
Not that I
a
want to
starter.
say you're wrong, but it's X Factor. It's X Force.
No, it was X Factor.
I think it's X.
Are you sure?
I feel like it's
Yep,
X
X-Force-
Factor.
I think
it's
X Force is
Hold on, let me give the
X-Force
explanation,
was-
and you guys can actually take another look back at it.
Because X Force is Shatterstar
No,
and
X Factor
yeah.
number 1 was built after they found Jean Grey under Cocoon. It comprised of the original X-Men. Reason being is that they wanted to leave the X-Men at the time because the X-Men had been handed over and was being helmed by Magneto.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. You're way above this than me. I would hope so, though.
I'm sorry. The fabulous young lady next to me is going to fact check me. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, I am. And I will admit I am wrong. It's X Factor. Well done, Blythe.
Dun, dun.
I thought I heard her say X Factor when she originally.
No, I said X Force. But I will fully admit I was incorrect. Blythe is right.
Yay.
That's okay.
This time.
It's about to get a little bit rough.
X Files.
In
Turn up the heat.
1993, the Sega Genesis had an X-Men game. Jean Grey was a supporting character in the game. What did she use her power for in that game?
She shot a big laser beam out of her face.
That would be incorrect, sir.
I had to try.
That would be Scott Summers.
Controller number 7.
That would be incorrect.
No idea.
Duh.
She's a healer.
That too would be incorrect.
I put an item vendor.
That would be incorrect as well. Her use in that game was if a character fell off the screen, she telekinetically placed you back onto the ridge that you
Oh
fell from.
wow, that's reaching.
That's lame.
Oh,
That's lame.
get your butt back in there.
Number 3. In the X-Men movie franchise, first part of the question is how many times was Jean Grey killed? Second part of it is how was she killed? I am not including any death or move around in the last movie, The Dark Phoenix. So everything running from the original X-Men movie up to Deadpool 2.
Now I know there
Duh.
was one, but I'm gonna say 2 because I'm sure I missed something.
Okay.
And the one that I know of is when Wolverine stuck her when she was the Phoenix.
Okay. That's the only death
That's
I know.
the only one I know.
I will give you 1 point for that.
Hey, a point's a point. Shut up.
I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
1 is that one. And I don't know how she dies when she becomes the Phoenix. I can't remember because it's been a long time since I've seen
That's fine.
X-Men and X2 and all those. And I think it's when he stabs her, she dies in 2, becomes Phoenix in 3. I know there's another one, but I can't remember.
So
I'm saying 3, but I can't remember how she died.
I'm going to give you a point for the amount because you're correct,
Okay.
and a point for the one death that you're aware of.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Taj?
I'm going to say 2. Wolverine kills her in The Last Stand when she turns into the Dark Phoenix. And then, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't she die in Days of Futures Past as well?
That is
Oh!
incorrect.
Oh, but it's incorrect, though.
Oh, I thought she did.
Nope. She's
No.
already dead by that point.
She's not
Well,
in
I mean,
Future
well,
Past.
Yeah,
the
she's not
Sentinels
Futures.
wipe her out. Though.
She's in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Oh.
Buys?
You're pointing to the
I've
2?
got 2.
Oh, you said 3, right? Okay.
So yeah, I've got 2. One is Dark Phoenix in X-Men 3, Dark Phoenix when Wolverine stabs her in the tummy, and then the second
tummy.
one.
That's so sweet.
The second
oh my god,
one
you are so adorable. I want to give you a hug right now, Blythe.
Yeah, he just stabbed her right in the tum tum. The second one is it? It's got to be X2 when they're escaping Stryker's base, and they knock down the dam. They knock down the dam, and she holds up the water for them to escape. And then that's the first time they do the flyby over the water, and you see the Phoenix.
That would be correct.
Wow.
But I don't know the third one.
So the correct number is 3. We have the first time she dies is when she drowns in Alkali Lake in X2. The second time is in X-Men: The Last Stand, where she is stabbed by Wolverine.
In the tummy.
Tum-tum.
In the tum-tum.
In the tum-tum.
Oh, that's never going to leave the show.
Nope.
The third time her death is mentioned and told in Logan, she's one of the first to die during Xavier's first seizures.
Oh.
You know, I completely forgot about that.
You're right.
I knew there was a third one. I just
Well,
could
there,
not
there should be a
remember.
fourth one. How 20th Century Fox has murdered her several times. over.
Over and
I didn't
over
say
and
mutilated,
over.
I said killed.
Let's see, Marvel Universe, can you fix it?
Hopefully.
Yes,
So-
we can.
Question number 5, Dub. In which cartoon did Jean Grey make her first animated appearance?
Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Unfortunately, Dub, that would be incorrect.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh,
I'll
if
let
it's
you
that-
fact check me afterwards.
Okay.
Courtney?
X-Men animated series. I have no
No.
idea.
That would be too incorrect.
Yeah.
I put
Gosh.
Spider-Man and Friends.
That is
Spider
incorrect.
Friends.
I put Spider-Man Amazing Friends too.
Was it
that
the
would be
stupid Kitty
incorrect.
Pride one?
No, she's not in that one either. Her first appearance is actually in the Submariner cartoon back from 1966 when they had the Marvel Hero cartoons.
Namor had
Her
cartoons?
and all of
Never even
the...
heard of that.
Trust me, you have. If you remember, they actually had back then a Hulk cartoon, an Iron Man cartoon, a Captain America cartoon. When Captain America throws his mighty shield, Submariner had a cartoon in which all the original X-Men show up.
Okay. I'm going to have to look that up on YouTube.
Yep,
Got it. You know it's gonna
1966.
be on there.
And while you're
that
on
one.
YouTube, subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to like.
Everything.
Number 6. Dub, how many genetic children does Jean Grey have, and who are they?
No clue. 2.
Okay. And who are the 2 you believe they are?
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. I know you want to slap me right now, but I have no idea.
Geeky girl, if you can just take him out back and shoot him.
Well, because you're going to get mad at me because I don't know their names.
Okay, how many?
I just have one. I just know the clone kid.
The clone. They just call it a cloney.
I'm not sure. I can't give you guys points for it.
Right, I can't think of his name.
The clone kid.
The
That's
clone
funny.
kid.
It's all right.
I'm half right.
I got you guys. I
Okay,
got
what do you
guys.
got for me,
Get it,
Kaj?
Kaj.
She has 2 children, Hope Summers and Rachel Summers. 2.
You have one correct.
Because there's a clone kid.
Yeah.
And it's a boy.
I am going to
It's a boy?
smack all of... Hold on here. Blythe, will you please fix them?
So I believe it's 2, and one is Hope Summers. The other one is Cable,
No. Cable is Madeline Pride and Scott Summers.
which is. But his
Okay.
question was, who is the genetic? What was
Rachel.
genetic offspring or genetic child of Jean Grey?
So,
Yeah.
I am
Well-
going to go back and check my numbers on this. Because 2 of you have said Hope. And from my understanding, Hope is actually Cable's daughter. Okay, so the answer that we have here for you are 4 for the genetic coding. Sorry, just lost my thing. So, your ones would be Rachel Summers. That is her daughter from the future as the Phoenix.
Yeah.
You have Nathan Summer, who is Cable, who is genetic from her because Madeline Pryor is a genetic clone of her. You have Strife, who is a genetic clone of Cable, making him a genetic of Jean Grey. And you have Nate Grey, who was genetically made from Jean and Scott in the Age of Apocalypse dimension and then brought over to the 616 universe.
I feel like that's a reach.
Good old
Okay.
comic book logic.
Right.
Gotta love
It works. You know what? And something we've learned, it's the guy, whoever's doing the game show, they're the one that's right. So.
Yep.
Right, like forever, this question will forever be known. Carl just wants to make sure that we put 4 instead of 2.
So, did anybody get points on this?
Yeah, there were points that were
okay.
given.
You give a couple.
Okay.
I got one.
Not a lot.
I got some.
Points were made.
They were
Just so,
right points.
just so you guys know, the young lady's winning.
Yeah, but
Weren't you just complaining that you were losing?
Yeah, but there's still
Okay.
a lot of quiz left.
All right, where are we? What number are we
Number
on?
7.
Number 7. In the Capcom game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds, what bonus do you get if Jean Grey dies with a hyper gauge of 5?
Well, this is something that it's kind of interesting because it was called what they called a real world bonus, and that real world bonus is you never get to leave your parents' basement.
What? That would be wrong. I made it out of my parents' basement, sir.
I said Carl will stop doing game shows.
That too is incorrect. I am here to stay.
Cold hard cash. $10.
You don't even get that if
And
you
a
trade the game
certificate.
in at this time, Taj.
That says you did it.
I said Phoenix or Dark Phoenix buff or bonus.
Lies would actually be correct. If you have
Nice.
that gauge, she is reanimated back as the Dark Phoenix, and you continue to keep playing.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
Well done, sir.
Number 8, a running theme through the X comics that started with Bishop's first appearance was that one day an X-Men would betray and kill the team. Jean Grey was the first to discover who this traitor was. Who was the traitor, Dub?
Dazzler!
She's sparkling, but not correct.
And on roller skates.
And Geeky Girl.
Kitty Pride.
That would have been really interesting. Unfortunately, it was not her.
Bruce Wayne?
He is the Batman.
I love it.
He knows everything. No, I put Colossus. But I was thinking of a different series or different comic book arc, so no, Colossus.
And unfortunately, that would be incorrect.
I
know.
put Cyclops. I had no idea.
And that too would be incorrect. My comic book friends at the table, if you're ready to smack yourself, the traitor ended up being Professor Charles Xavier. She would find out at the moment that he became Onslaught. If you ever go back
yes,
and
of
take
course,
a
of
look
course,
at the
of
book,
course.
it replays the exact recording that she's playing in the same book that Bishop has introduced, where she says someone killed Xavier first. Oh my God, it's it. And then you'll see that when it replays it, she's saying that Onslaught killed him, becoming Xavier.
Yeah. Okay.
I see the look on Bly's face. He's like, God damn it, I
Oh,
knew
man.
that one.
Minus Ultra.
Number 9. After the events of the Dark Phoenix saga, who found Jean Grey in a cocoon in the Jamaica Bay? Dub.
Marvel Aquaman.
That
The
would be
Samaritan did not.
Samaritan.
I was getting confused for a second, but that would be incorrect. That's a really good guess, though.
I try.
I literally read it this morning, but I can't remember now, so I'm going to say Logan.
He does not swim that deep, but that's good.
I said Wolverine as well.
That
I
would
can see the picture. I thought there were several of them that were swimming down, but I just
She was on the psychic egg.
yeah.
technically one. Well, let me give
Bly's
Bly's.
answer.
It was the Avengers and the Fantastic Four.
And I'm going to give you the multi-answer for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
double
right.
points.
So, on a norm, I had here the Fantastic Four because it did take place in the Fantastic Four book. I believe it was their annual that year. And it leads into that X Factor that we were talking about earlier. So, now we have question number 10. Which two comic book creators created Jean Grey, Dub?
Claremont and Lee.
That would be incorrect.
On both?
For creating Jean Grey?
Just guessing.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, nice guess, but no.
No.
Comic book girl?
Lee and
Geeky
Kirby.
girl? Sorry. I love you. She thought I was about to smack her.
You were
I got 1 point on that.
lifting your backhand up.
I got 1 point on that.
He said Lee.
Oh,
Lee.
okay.
Said Lee.
I'll
Said
give
Lee
you-
and
for
Claremont.
some reason, I was because he said Claremont. I was thinking Jim Lee. I was like, that's why I went to smack him.
Lee, you're right, because Claremont changed her later on, so that you did good with that.
True.
Stan Lee, Jack Kirby.
Excellent.
Put anything. I just thought it would, like, I wanted to go Lee and Kirby, but then I was just like, that can't be
too
it. That's
easy.
too obvious.
Because all the other ones have been massively difficult.
Yeah.
I could bite them together and make Lurby.
So here we have, what are the aliases for Jean Grey? Her name, Jean Grey, does not count. Although someone around here will get I'll get a point for it since I told them that they would.
Thank you.
I got Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, White Phoenix, and Darling, because I know that Scott did call her Darling on several occasions.
Close, but not all. Darling is the one I don't give points for.
She was called it in the comics. I'm being Jason right now. Jason's not here. Someone's got to beg
Somebody's
got
got to go.
I forgot Marvel Girl. So I have Dark Phoenix, Phoenix, White Phoenix, and Jean Grey Summers.
And I am giving...
I get the point. She's
I told her
married
I'd
to
give her
Sky.
Jean Grey,
That's her
yes.
name.
So I'm going to ask for the same thing. Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, White Phoenix of the Crown. It's the full title of it.
I wrote of
and
the Crown. I just didn't say
and
it.
Jean Summers.
I'm going to give it to you because I give it to the young lady. And I'm equal opportunity.
I had Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix. I couldn't remember what the beginning of it. I put something of the Crown, and then Madeline Pryor.
Okay. I'm going to let your teammates decide whether to give you to Madeline Pryor.
He's going to win anyway.
It's a clone. It's a clone of her. Genetic clone. She wants to see the points.
Oh my God! No, you're Jason.
If you give
What,
it
how
to
many
me,
points?
beats me.
So the actual answer is Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, White Phoenix of the Crown, and Red Dayspring. Red Dayspring was a name that was given to her during the comic book run, The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, where they're transported to the future and they raise Cable.
Ooh, boy.
Okay, so what's our winner?
Was that the last one?
That
the
was
last
it.
one.
That was enough abuse.
Oh, he does.
He does win.
Blythe pulls it off by 1.
Oh, man.
Actually, I'm looking at the points. He beat you by 1. He beat me by 2. So technically, you beat me 2.
Oh.
Oh, man.
And running in last place, your host.
So you have one in the middle that I didn't. That wasn't part of the
Oh.
crossover. So
Oh.
you and Kaj actually are tied.
Shoot tied.
So we have to beat
Okay.
Blythe up in the parking lot.
What? No.
Oh, no, but then he's going to just rise up again and just...
Oh, freaking Phoenix.
Then he
Thank
can
you
go
for
into Harry
coming and
Potter as
playing,
well.
everyone. And I'll be doing next week's game show as well. No.
No.
You can do all the game shows you want, Carl.
Here, edit.
Winner.
What the fox? Yeah, Harry Potter reference.
All right. Okay, thank you for torturing us, Carl. We appreciate that.
I love you guys. I
So
do.
let's start off. Let's talk about the parameters of what we're going to be talking about. Kind of the Jean Grey through history, and I know that Courtney's the one that kind of spearheaded this one today. Tell us a little bit about the history of Jean Grey and why should we care?
Feel free to jump in, guys. Especially Carl, because I think he knows more than I do at this point in time. We should talk about Jean Grey because she is one of the most important female characters out there, and I think she's also one of the most misunderstood kind of characters outside of the comic book world because there's so much about her history that if you don't read the comic books, you may not even know, and if you do read the comic books, you may not even know based on our answers to the trivia questions that Carl gave us. She's got some great... I mean, she's 13th in the top 100 comic book heroes of all time. She's the 9th highest ranked female character. She's gone from when she originally started as Marvel Girl as the weakest of the X-Men characters to the strongest of the X-Men. So, I mean, she's had a pretty outstanding history from her inception in 1963. So that's why I think we should know better, because she's a pretty cool character. And she's gone from hero to villain, because Dark Phoenix, she was a villain. Hero to villain and back again.
That's...
Do you argue?
I'm not saying
I argue
intentional
because
villain.
because Dark Phoenix is not Jean Grey. Dark Phoenix is the Phoenix Force.
That's true.
Well,
That
yeah.
took
But
away
it's
Bond-
the Phoenix
she's
Force
the
that
Phoenix-
believes that
She is
they
Jean
are
Grey.
She
they're
bonded
Jean
with her,
Grey.
yes, but
Yeah.
that's why we were talking about her finding her in a cocoon in Jamaica Bay, was because the Phoenix Force actually
Split.
put her body, it split her and then put her body into Jamaica Bay.
Yeah.
She's the physical manifestation of the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just trying to be the curmudgeon.
No, for sure.
But yeah, I mean the thing is, when the Phoenix Force is a psychic signal, and at one point in time, Jean sent out the psychic signal, and two people picked up on that. One being Professor X and bringing her into the X-Men, and the other was the Phoenix Force itself that heard that psychic
Yeah.
signal.
Go on.
Because the Phoenix Force needs a body and a mind, not just the body. Because Captain America had the Phoenix Force in him at one point in time, but the Phoenix Force has to have a mind that can contain it as well and survive with it. And Jean is the only one that's had the mind in addition to the body that can control it.
Now, let me kind of hit this. This is something that's bothered me a little bit with, as far as the Hollywood renditions, and even with the animated. They always seem to force the fact that she is the most powerful telepath in history. Blah 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 blah. It never seems like they do anything with that in Hollywood and with the shows. Is that me, or does everyone else kind of feel that way?
My opinion on that factor is, I think that when it comes to any media production of her outside of the comics, unfortunately, they all rely heavily on the only storyline that they know, which is the Dark Phoenix storyline.
Well, that's the only one that's
But because of that, they never explore her outside of that realm. They never take her out of that box. If you think about the original X-Men movies, she was set up from the beginning to get them to their version of the Dark Phoenix. When they did their reboot in the franchise, again, what's the first thing that they do? They set her up to take her right into their Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Even the 90s animated series wasted no time incorporating her into the Dark Phoenix. And if you look at any of those mediums, as soon as they got past the Dark Phoenix with her, well, in the movie franchise, they were done. In the animated franchise, she became not even a second-tier person. She was really put on board to further Cyclops and Wolverine's, animosity with each other, and to be a referee in between the two of them.
Yeah.
They never really moved her beyond that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're rushing storylines, and that's the one thing that this community will tell you is that if you rush a storyline in the movie from the source material, no one's going to be happy.
You're going to get it wrong every time.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, and they need to. Hopefully, with the MCU taking on X-Men and rebooting it, hopefully they start the X-Men with the team and they just have X-Men team movies. That's what we need for 2-3 movies. Just see them as a team, see them maybe hint at it a little bit, but don't just dive right into it, because that's where you mess up.
fair enough.
Yeah.
So, what would it take for you guys to be happy with the character? Like the team thing, blah blah.
An actual character arc. And for her, a character arc doesn't. Look, I'll be completely honest. I don't find her to be the most interesting of the mutant community.
I'd agree.
Especially right now, when your mutant community, from a female's perspective, I find Storm to be a little bit more interesting. I definitely find, especially where the MCU has her, Scarlet Witch is. But if you put her in a character building arc that teams her with Cyclops, not only do you build her and you build Cyclops, but you also make that romance and that team of two people. Because if you think about it, for the longest time in the comic books, they were part of a power couple crew. And we have never seen that.
No.
But part of the problem with Jean Grey that we all overlooked, yes, we love to see her with Scott and with the Wolverine love triangle, blah blah blah. She is very much, and this is my problem with Jean Grey, why I've never been really interested in her. She's a prop. She's the most interesting my opinion, she's some of the most interesting you'll see when she's dead, because she's affected all the characters around her. She affects the characters around her more than you see her moving forward, if that makes sense.
But even in that role, if you think about it, you have to be able to show those touch points with her. You have to be able to show why she's so important. If you think about the arc, everyone is grieving over RDJ's Tony Stark being dead because look what he brought to the table for the Avengers. You know, even if you would have left everything is and removed him from it, people would still question, could the Avengers go on? If you want to make her that, that much of a touch point, you need to put her in where you show her having an impact on Xavier's life while she's alive, where you show him seeing her as a daughter. You need to show that dynamic with her and Scott. I personally think you can do it all perfectly fine and never want to have Wolverine as part of it, because their story went perfectly fine for the longest time with no Logan involved.
Yeah.
Well, this... Did you have something?
No, I just completely agree that I think it's just something that needs time. They don't, like you said, they don't need Wolverine right away. They need to take a page out of that first X-Men book when it was just with
First
the five. Yeah, no, when it was just
it was
the X-Men number 1, where it was just the 5 of them: Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, Jean
Angel.
Grey, and Angel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you take that group, you put them in their own movie or even a TV show with the dynamic that the X-Men have. They may need a TV show where you have multiple episodes to build out that relationship that they need, because that's what makes them interesting. That's what makes the X-Men interesting, is the relationship that they have with each other, because they are such a family dynamic. Exactly.
Yeah, well, that this definitely goes to the team is bigger than the sum of the parts. Well, I don't think that
the X-Men is the mutant equivalence of the Fantastic Four. And think about it, you wouldn't make a Fantastic Four with them split.
Well, they'd have, and they were terrible.
Yeah. Well, that's another franchise we can get into.
One thing I will
Not without Jason, he'll get mad.
I will back up where you say that she's a prop. That's very true, especially in the third film. And one thing that really angered me, first off, is if you're going to have the Phoenix be Dark Phoenix, let her be Dark Phoenix. Let her be the actual Dark Phoenix that can destroy planets and just wreak havoc. They never really let her be that. And then the other problem is in the original Dark Phoenix, in the comic book run, Jean's personality is strong enough that she is able to take back her body over, and she commits suicide in order to save the universe.
Right.
They decided to let Logan be the one that has to kill her. They took away her agency. They took away Jean Grey's moment to give it this. They took it away from her and gave it to the man, and made the man the important thing in the changing and the saving of the universe. When in all actuality, Jean should have been the one to be able to finish out her arc the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
They could have had Logan in there. I would have been perfectly fine with Logan having to prompt her or do something. I didn't like the fact that he was the one that had to kill her to save the world. I really would have liked it if she had been the one, like in her...
Did the sacrifice herself.
That she had to sacrifice herself.
Right.
Because
For the love of Scott.
To be
Yeah,
fair, in
that's
all of those
the
movies, though,
nature.
Logan.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
he's the
nature.
driving force.
And I personally, I enjoy Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think too much focus was placed on him in general throughout all of the X-Men movies. And I don't say that because I don't like his portrayal. I enjoy his Logan. But it's like you guys said, these are supposed to be X-Men movies.
Right.
They're not supposed to be Wolverine movies.
Right.
They're X-Men movies. I need to hear about Storm. I need to hear about Cyclops. I don't care.
But
about
in
Cable
a world of marketing, you've got to go with that.
Exactly.
Because
So
who's
that's
the most
why-
interesting character? To be fair,
True.
Yeah.
And if they were actually going to do it justice, they should have brought the Hellfire Club in there as well, because that's what basically
Caused her to turn.
turned Jean or Phoenix, the Phoenix Force, into the Dark Phoenix, because
And they had the chance
Wingard
to do that with,
was
with Sophie
manipulating her.
Turner, but the second time around they chose not to use Hellfire Club. Personally, I think the Hellfire Club storyline is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a lot of fun.
and that's what should be in the cartoons and in the movies.
exactly.
Well, it was in
Well,
the
and like
animated.
a
It was in the
snowbird.
90s animated
Well,
one.
you know
Yeah.
that's kind of the holy grail of.
Right.
But even then, I still felt like that cartoon series treated Jean Grey weak. The only one I think didn't really treat her weak was X-Men Evolution.
Now, okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if I said it on the show or if I said it off mic, but she's always felt like a mother character to me. Even as a teenager in X-Men Evolution, she felt like everybody's mom. And
There were moments where she was hot-headed, though.
But she
and-
was the mom. They all went to her for her troubles, and she was the den mother. She was the mom.
Yeah, and I think that's because, and that's how they made her and Scott in Evolution, was those were the two go-to because those were the two, like, prime X-Men,
Yeah.
and the other kids were just coming in.
And
but
they
then,
made Storm and the other
family-
one's like an adult.
yeah,
So.
but that's why that show was good, because you did have those moments where you remember she's just a teenager. Like, she had those moments where she flew off the handle and just kind of did her own thing and didn't
And I
fit
do
that
remember
motherly
those, yeah.
aspect. But that's who she was. She was a kid, and that's what happens. Even if you're taking care of family, if you're taking care of with a bunch of kids, you're still a kid, and you're gonna do things that are off the beaten path.
Okay, so and this kind of leads us to, we've been talking about the cinematic universe with who we think should play, who would be that right character to play Jean Grey. Now, before we get into any of our stuff, let's get into our listeners. This is the question we asked, and let's hit the music on that one first.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
Okay, so for our listener feedback question, we asked, who would you like to see play Jean Grey Phoenix moving forward? Because Marvel bought them out. Yes, thank God. First up is our good friend of the show, Christina Belden. So it depends on my mood. Of course, my first preference would be Karen Gillian. That was hers. Because, well, she's Karen Gillan.
Nebula? Oh.
Yeah, she's Nebula.
She's Nebula.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
okay,
Nebula.
yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Gillian Anderson.
Yeah, no.
I was like,
Yeah.
I
Okay,
like
she's
that
a
casting
little
choice, though. If she
I'll
wasn't
still go
already
with it.
Nebula.
And she
Yeah.
was freaking brilliant. I think she would bring incredible passion to the role, and I do agree on that. Second choice would be Catherine McNamara, who would also bring a freshness to the role. Or me, I burn pretty hot when I'm pissed. ROFL. That's not me saying that. I'm just reading. Don't throw tomatoes at me.
Okay, I'll put the tomato down.
Thank you. Next up, we have Daniel Houston. Again, Karen Gillan. Great actress, attractive, intelligent, and most importantly, can portray a character as intelligent without it seeming forced. I really actually kind of like that. Next up, we have the voice of the show, Todd Harvey. And this one really kind of threw me on my ear a little bit. Seeing how profoundly deep, psychologically and physically speaking, this particular character is, I would have to vote for a completely CGI synthesized characterization. We all know from modern movies and video games that we've achieved huge levels of realism with CGI. I have doubts that any actor could pull it off as well as a purely imaginative construct. Now, if you're looking at the Phoenix, I can agree.
Yeah, I have something to say about that.
Okay, fire away.
Well, it's an interesting concept, and I totally applaud him for that. However, he has to remember that all those CGI characters
Are
have
based.
human actors behind it. It's in all the video games. Those are people in mocap suits and in virtual reality capture situations. So it's still a person playing the character.
I am Groot.
Right.
right?
But as I say, it is an interesting
It's
thought.
an interesting thought.
Because that's thinking outside of the box, and I appreciate when people do
yeah,
that.
so I totally dig it. But
Yeah.
it's still a person.
And finally, PB&Jason, he's going to offer up Felicia Day. Great choice. She's got a range to play the innocent, sometimes fearful Jean, and the intensity to pull off a scary Phoenix. I don't know that Felicia Day can ever pull off the, like
She
we were
can't
just
be
talking about, the
scary.
mom thing either. She will always be the kid. She'll always be looking for the answers instead of giving the answers. But that's my opinion. But I'd say I know everyone liked to pick on redhead actresses, so what did you guys think? Did you guys have any ideas for who you wanted to see?
I had one, but then I thought against it. But I'll say it anyway. Natalie Dorman.
Why would you? Why against it?
Because I was thinking like she's got a beautiful face, but it's not an. I hate to say it, like it's not an innocent one. She has kind of like a bad girl look to herself. And then once I thought that, I'm like, no, Emma Frost. Natalie Dorman should absolutely be Emma Frost.
See, we can't even give Jean Grey this. We got to talk about somebody else.
Let me think about Jean Grey here for a second.
Anybody else have any suggestions?
I have Olivia Cook.
What was she in?
She played Artemis in Ready Player One.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a
an
good
interesting
one.
take.
Yeah.
I think Sophie Turner should have a do-over.
Allow me to.
No, she was good. She would like as an actor, like an actor can only do so much with
Right.
a
I feel,
mediocre script. So.
I feel the same way about Sophie Turner that I do Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
I think, don't beat me up. I think he makes a good Superman. He's just given terrible material to work with and a terrible director, and we can fight about this later.
We'll tag team because I agree.
I feel the same way about
Henry
Sophie
Cavill's
Turner
amazing.
because if you've watched any of the stuff that she's done, especially in the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, she's got an interesting range on her, and she can do the crazy really well. I just don't know if she was given the right material.
I'll say this much: you haven't seen Dark Phoenix yet.
I have not yet. That's
So,
my problem. So I can't. I have to base it on what I've seen her already do as the Phoenix.
If we would have been talking about Sophie Turner from Apocalypse, I'd have been like, no way in Hades. However, I did see Dark Phoenix, and she was one of the breakout points in
She's
Dark
really
Phoenix. She
talented.
did amazing well, and I remember my wife telling me when I was like, oh, wow, that's a different kind of actress that we got here. My wife was like, well, look at the time difference between when she filmed the movies. She learned so much from Game of Thrones that when she went into this next one, you can tell that the acting chops were there. And it made me actually feel bad watching the movie, knowing that was it for that cast.
Yeah.
I think I have two. Isla Fisher.
I don't like her.
Isla Fisher might, or Bryce Dallas Howard.
I don't know who she is.
I had Bryce Dallas Howard
Bryce
too.
Dallas Howard.
She
Just-
played
just
Felicia
looking at-
Hardy in Spider-Man, the third
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yes, the third Spider-Man,
The
and
third
she's
Spider-Man.
also in
She's Ron
the
Howard's kid.
new Jurassic
Oh,
World.
I know who
Yeah,
it is.
she-
New
Okay.
Jurassic
What
World
about
movies.
Rose Leslie?
I saw her too. I don't.
I don't know if she has the right strength. She's kind of frail looking.
It's.
Yeah, well, I just have to throw out one, and that would be Blake Lively.
I could dig that.
I think
Okay.
I could think she could definitely sink her teeth around that role.
She doesn't necessarily
she's
have
a
to be a
little
redhead.
old
They could
for-
just
No,
make her
you can
redheaded.
dye anybody's hair.
I just
Remember
think she's
Uma
old for
Thurman?
the part.
See, and that's what
And I hate this. I hate to call. I mean,
Well, it
Blake Lively
depends
is
on which
gorgeous
era
no
they're
matter
taking
where
him.
you look at
Right,
it.
Yeah.
But I think if I wanted to bring them in, if I was Kevin Feige,
You
Lord
want
and
somebody
Savior
young.
Kevin Feige, I would start my like we were saying earlier, my X-Men crew would start off with the original 5
Yeah.
in the original youth.
Oh,
that said, Emma Watson.
Original youth, and oh god, she's in Stranger Things. Uma Thurman's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah. You know what? I could see that.
They're looking at her for something.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Dana Plato.
I read something about her today.
I can see
But
that.
the MCU
Yeah,
was
like,
looking at her,
like
I saw
different
that too.
strokes. Yeah.
Okay, and from there, let's move on to the main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so on our main event today, we're talking. We're not doing top fives today, which is really weird for everybody because we couldn't really think of 25 different moments of Jean Grey.
Right.
that-
We're all coming up with.
we're all coming up with the same
ones,
thing. So
although-
we're just gonna kind of go, our favorite portrayals. No, not personal portrayals, but storylines, arcs, whatever. Whether it be cartoons, movies, comic book, TVs. What is our favorite presentations of Jean Grey? So we're not doing necessarily 1 through 5, but we're just gonna kind of go around the table and just keep kind of hitting some. I want to hit just the Scott the Scott Summers Wolverine triangle, love triangle.
That was I read that just growing up. It's kind of just a question, like a psychological question of like who does the girl go for? Does she go for the one that like truly is one? Well, they both love her, but one would just basically do anything in the world possible for her, or the bad boy that
Loyalty, man. Scotty was there from the beginning.
Right?
Yeah.
Friend zone.
But if we want to get into it, Scott's a little dirty boy as well too. If you want to get into Madeline Pryor, I know it's a clone. But still.
He thought she was dead.
She walks in and is like, "Oh my god!"
But he thought she was dead.
What I think is really an interesting thing that people really overlook about that, yes, they put on all the feelings on Scott and Wolverine, but she had all the power and she knew it. And I think that she manipulated that a lot. And I wish they would have kind of put that out in the comic books a little more. It would have made her a more interesting character. Not being like an ugly manipulation, but definitely...
I think they did over time, actually.
A little bit.
But that just turns into a slippery slope, because then I could just see a lot of, especially male and females, that would start trolling her, saying like, "Well, what is her is she promiscuous? Is she where's her moral compass?
Yeah,
if she's going to be
manipulating." This is the same team that has Gambit in it. So.
But even, it's a normal human condition. Having said that, like being prominent in a comic book, then I'm sure that real humans would be like, what are you teaching our kids? Like, what are you teaching our
I would tell them, look at the comic book code. Keep it moving.
Well, that comes in too with her sacrifice, because Jim Shooter was. I know I'm going off on a ramp, but when she sacrificed herself, or she was not supposed to sacrifice herself. She was supposed to just get the Phoenix Force taken away from her when she jumped in front of it.
That's right.
And then she was just going to become Scott's wife, and they were going to have kids. Their executive producer was like, no, she destroyed a galaxy. She destroyed a solar system. She needs to pay for her crime. So they killed her. And then that's when Scott left the X-Men. And then all of a sudden she comes back as the clone, or she comes back in from Jamaica Bay. And then people were mad about that, saying like, what? Like she was alive this whole time. They started wagging their finger, but they just liked the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix saga so much that...
Yeah.
Well, and if you remember that, to answer that, they did the trials of Jean Grey.
Right. So...
Oh, yes. So mine... mine that I really got into, and this is because it really shows you, like... comic book logic and how ridiculous comic books can be, and that's the whole storyline behind Madeline Pryor, which is her clone. Okay. So Madeline Pryor was a clone that was created by Mr. Sinister to mate with Cyclops. So not just make a clone of a more genetically superior mutant, but made a clone so that it could bang Cyclops and then have genetically superior clones, and then that clone merges with a piece of the broken Phoenix Force and then becomes a Phoenix in its own self. So I just thought that's one of the storylines that really is like, man, they're going for it, and they're just
soap opera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something that is really deep, and it's got a lot of crazy just details in it.
Mine's Dark Phoenix Hellfire Club when she becomes the Black Queen.
Okay, now for those who aren't as
80s.
educated as in the Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix and all that, everyone knows the Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, they don't know.
So tell me about the Hellfire Club and all that.
So she was Phoenix at this point in time, and the Hellfire Club, which consisted of Emma Frost, what's the guy's name?
Jason Wingard.
That's right, Jason Wingard. They pretty much kind of corrupted Jean over to their side. Emma Frost was the White Queen of the Hellfire Club. So they've kind of corrupted her over, and she became the Black Queen, and that's when she really became Dark Phoenix. And the rest of the X-Men kept basically trying to pull her back and bring her back and bring her back, and she just was out there just
wrecking shop.
Yeah, like just destroying, killing, and destroying plant. I mean, just wrecking everything. And she actually committed suicide at the end because Jean was able to get herself back, and she committed suicide, and she was gone. And like when they brought her back into comic books again, they had to have an editorial comment about how, okay, well, we're gonna just forget she did all these terrible things.
Right.
It's like watching the
It's like-
Green Lantern movie. It's like, let's just forget that ever happened.
She laid waste to. She just wrecked everything
The
at that
Shi'ar
point in time.
Empire never forgot it either.
And yeah, that's the thing. It was the Shi'ar had to do something.
They came and got her and put her on trial, and she had to go
They
up
had to give her a
against.
psychic lobotomy. That's what it
Yep.
is.
She had to go up. She had to go up against Gladiator.
They had
Because
to take
comic books.
the
Yeah.
force out of her. And for me, one of the reasons this is the one that I love the most is this is actually the first series of comic books I ever read.
Oh, wow.
wow.
That's a
Yeah.
deep one to start with.
Exactly.
Solid.
My grandma and grandpa, we would go visit them in rural Ohio in the summer, and they owned a general store, and pretty much we would get $5, and my cousins and I would read all the comic books that they would sell in the store. And we're
Nice.
talking about really small, so it was like one little circular rack of comic books. But
God, I miss those.
It was the Uncanny X-Men. I read a lot of Uncanny X-Men, and the Dark Phoenix saga was actually there, and that was one of the very the very first. These and Crazy Old School She-Hulks. So that's why the Hellfire.
That's
Club-
this answers so many
Yeah,
questions.
this is my-
There
this
you
is my
go.
brain.
Wow. For me, it would have been the X Factor comic run from 86 to 91. This was a point where right afterward they decided to go ahead and bring back the original team, but they didn't want the original team as part of the X-Men because at that point Magneto was the headmaster. So what they did is the original 5 dressed themselves up as a team that were mutant hunters. And they were going out and quote-unquote hunting mutants, but really bringing them in, saving them, getting them into training, and things like that. That's where we ended up getting what would eventually become the X-Force team from there. But I liked it because it was a nice, especially in the 80s, throwback to what we had in the 60s. And it was a nice... everything doesn't have to be gritty, and you can take these people that are in a gritty situation of life and make them a little bit lighter and fun and put that family dynamic back in there. So
Yeah, that really brings me to my next pick, which is X-Men number 30, The Wedding of Scott and Jean. There was no drama. Nothing bad happened.
it's the only wedding in comic
And I
books.
loved it. I loved it for that. The scene when she uses their powers to be able to dance with Charles,
Right.
pulls him out of the wheelchair, and that it was just like tears. But that was such a good comic book.
I actually just bought a signed copy of that last week.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm done.
Everybody's done?
I think so.
Well, okay, I got a
Yeah.
couple more that I want
We
to talk
did our
about then.
major ones, I think.
I mean,
Well-
I could jump in. Well, I can say like we wouldn't have the Dark Phoenix if we didn't actually have the Phoenix Saga. So that one, to kick that off, where she got her powers when they, what was it? Not Oliver Trask, but there was another guy that came in after that, kidnapped some of the X-Men. She flew up. Her and the X-Men flew up into space, and the first satellite was coming back down. Phoenix Force kind of bonded with her, but then she got there was a jewel or something that the Shi'ar were protecting.
The
and it cracked.
crystal.
The Mcron crystal, and it cracked, and that's how she kind of used her powers at the first use of her powers for that, and actually fixed it and healed it, and then she sacrifice herself, but then rose back up as a Phoenix
back
again.
up.
Quickly from
I
that
think
one,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have had the Dark Phoenix.
Nice.
True.
Well, and I think the most important thing that we should mention, I mean, there's 2 major animated series that I think are more important than anything as far as Jean Grey goes, and that would be Evolution and the 90s animated. If Hollywood wants to succeed, go watch the animated, go hang out with Cal for a while, and make those, because I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close.
Well, aren't they? They're there was rumors that
there's
they were
rumors.
trying to bring it back again. Like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
season.
Well, they did it with they brought the comic back that was based off of it.
And it was so good.
Yeah, and it sold so well that they started talking about, let's see what we can do about bringing the animated series back.
I hope it happens.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's a show, guys. Woo. Go to the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the code we paid extra for it. Go to the Facebook, answer the questions, and be on the show. Go on the Twitter, @iHeartGeekShow. Do the same thing, you know. We put all our stuff there. Go to the Instagram, iHeartGeek. Yes, all the time. Be there. We post a lot. And the YouTube. Now, what's cool with the YouTube right now, we're putting up current shows. We're also putting up all our old shows, too. Go a trip down memory lane. There's a lot of really good stuff that we talked about. Stuff that's not available on the main feed anymore, which is really... It's fun to go through all that.
Right. If you're just cleaning up the house and just need something to listen to, you can just throw it on your console or TV or whatever and just kind of listen while you're doing stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Subscribe. If you're on iTunes, leave us comments. If you're on Podomatic, leave us comments. If you're on YouTube, leave comments. Subscribe. like everything. Is there
Yes.
anything else I'm missing here? We have like 7 million things.
Likes and subscribes.
Likes and
And
subscribe.
yeah, if
Hit the
anybody
bell.
if anybody has any good suggestions on kind of a plan for getting stickers to people, we want to get stickers to people because they're awesome.
Did you send the stickers to
Yes,
our winner?
yes, they did.
Yes.
Yes,
Congratulations to our winner.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tyler Romaine from
Congratulations.
Florida. Awesome guy.
Stay away from the gators.
Florida.
And then we have, that's about it. And until next time, I'm Dub.
I'm Miss Geeky Page.
I'm the Black Geek.
I'm Cage. Wow, I'm Codge.
And I'm Blythe.
And the winner gets to say,
Keep on geeking on.
I thought we were talking about gray jeans.
are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing?
Yeah, I had Levi. I had Wranglers.
You've been listening to iHeartGeek. Our Twitter account is @iHeartGeekShow. Hope you enjoyed the show.